Hello, welcome back to That Mill podcast. My name's Omar. I'm joined tonight by Chris, chaps 89, as you say in your little thing at the bottom there, mate, your Twitter handle. Hello, mate. You good?
Good evening. Yeah, all good. Thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. It's a bit of a joyous show, hopefully, for all three of us here. We've also got Ben at Greeny_Ben, seeing as I've done Chris's one. Hello, mate. You good?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, all good, fellas. How we doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, we'll cut straight to the chase. Millwall have announced the signing today of Ollie Burke, returning on loan from Werder Bremen after we missed out on him in the summer. I think we did go for him. It feels like it was muted at the time in the summer. We didn't get him in the end, but we've got him back on loan after 15 games in the league for Werder Bremen and 2 goals. I think he popped up the winner away at Dortmund, if memory serves me right, in the 96th minute or something in the Bundesliga this season. Chris, let's go straight to you, mate. He's signed for us, back on loan. What's your immediate thoughts when you heard that one earlier today, mate, and he's having a medical down at the Den?
Return of the Burke. Yeah. Listen, I think it is a bit of an underwhelming signing, but he is someone that we know well. We know what to expect from him. He's incredibly pacey, which gives us something that I think we've all addressed that we've missed this season. Works hard, knows the group. Probably comes in, excuse me, fitter than he did when he came to us last season. So all in all, I don't think it's a bad signing. It's not the marquee signing that Nisbet would have been or anything else, but it's not a bad signing, and definitely gives us a slightly different option to what we've got already.
It's definitely what I feel an echo there, especially the point about potentially more fit. He's played 15 games in the league this year, in the Bundesliga as well, Ben. I know it's contextual whether how much he's featured there and how much he's played. A lot of it's bit part off the bench, kind of a squad player. But 15 games at the January point of the window in the season, obviously World Cup break in the middle. He's obviously featured in and around the squad there. And compared to when he signed for us last year after playing only 3 games in the champ for Sheffield United, maybe potentially we've got a bit more of a well-rounded and obviously match fit Ollie Burke available for us this time around.
Yeah, hopefully. And as we said, when we got him last time, he was very, very limited in terms of his minutes. It doesn't look like he's played a great deal for Werder Bremen. I mean, just having a look in his last 2 games, he's played 4 minutes and 13. As you said, it looks like he's been coming off the bench. Is probably one of the reasons why he's looking to move on and get more game time. But look, it's more than what he was getting at Sheffield United last time. So, yeah, I think if he can show glimpses of possibly what we've seen, not only with us, but with Werder Bremen and even Celtic before that, he's going to be a useful signing. Similar to you, Chris, I was a little bit underwhelmed earlier when we announced it. But yeah, I think it adds much needed depth and very different to what we've got now in terms of Vogie playing wide. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad signing.
No, I agree with you there, mate. And I mean, is he maybe a target we was going for all along this window? Is what it feels like. It's a mixed reaction online. It's a 50-50 kind of split. I think for the pair of the players that are linked with us, the second one we'll get onto in a minute. But obviously we signed Burke. He's come back. It seems to be like a fallback option a little bit. I don't know what you both think about that. I don't know what's to go first on that, but it feels like we've had targets that we set out for at the start of the window. If it is a fullback, Burke's not the worst one to fall back on, I suppose. I mean, I'll come to you again, Ben, on that one. It's not the worst option. He's obviously got the pedigree at this league, and we've seen what he's about, and he adds a lot of pace to that front line, especially in the wide areas.
I think if you go through probably our targets, I can't imagine he was in the top 3 of those. We know 2 of them, right? So I can't imagine that, he was in the top 3. But yeah, everything that you guys have just said there, we know him. He knows the group. He knows how we want to play. He knows the manager. It's almost there's no risk attached to this signing, I guess. So yeah, I don't think he would have been in the top 3 or maybe even 5. But I don't think as a last resort we need people in signing. I think we could have done a lot worse. And as you say, I think a big thing is he knows the group. He knows the club. And I think it's just going to be a case of if he is up to speed and match fit, then he's going to go straight in. So, yeah, I don't think he's a bad backup signing or a number 6, 7, 8 or whatever he might have been on our target list. So, yeah, I think he's a decent backup.
straight into the team potentially Saturday, Chris? I mean, cool, that's a big shout, that one. But I mean, I think if you look at it, obviously, I think with obviously the match fit comment as well, he was actually injured the first half of the season with Sheffield United, and I think it showed. He came in, broke down, didn't he, straight away in the first couple of games, came back, broke down again, and then eventually kind of got a string of games together. The best performance for me is Luton away. Where he came on and you can see he was getting up to speed. So you can see what he's got in his locker, I suppose, and that's kind of what we'll be looking for him, I suppose, going into the crunch time of the season.
100%. And I think if you look at the 18 that we had available to us against Cardiff, does he improve that 18? I think the obvious answer is yes, he does. Whether he starts or not is is debatable and probably not right now. But he improves that 18, and he's definitely someone. And we said this when we signed him last time: is that I don't care who you are as a defence, as someone playing in the defence in the Championship with 20 minutes to go, you don't want Ollie Burke running at you, because there's one thing he's got, and he's lightning quick. He doesn't really know what he's going to do with it after time, so therefore the defence can't. So, look, yeah, I get a lot of people saying he probably was a backup signing, and he most likely was. The sort of how quickly the announcements come about and the way it's happened. But he's probably fairly low cost, just a portion of wages, I would imagine, until the end of the season. Where I'm not sure if he's still got a contract with Werder Bremen at the end of the season. I'm not sure. Maybe someone else knows. He knows the group. Rowett and the club probably know that he's not going to cause trouble, maybe other than his clobber. And I think he'll fit well into what we're looking to do, and can hit the ground running. The only thing I would say is he going to be someone that impacts that first 11? That's the only question for me, which I'm not quite sure about.
I think on that point,
just on the contract. Yeah, I was going to say, 2025.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that was my point to that, because I think he signed a 3-year deal. I remember seeing at the time, 3-year deal when he went there initially. Is it foolish to say that Millwall haven't got a clause in there potentially to buy him? Let's be honest. I mean, if he hits the ground running, if he becomes that player that he's meant to have had potential for the last 9 years of his career, have we got an option in there? It's not been anything touted about, has there, Chris? I don't think so. I've not seen anything said like a view to a permanent or anything as such. But it's an interesting one there, I feel like.
And it's also weird, like why I would have imagined we would have tried to have signed him in the summer. Like you said earlier, Omar, I can't imagine we wouldn't have done. But was it that they were offering a 3-year contract, and that's why maybe he opted to go to Werder Bremen, or was it the lure of the Bundesliga? I don't know. But it's just interesting how now he's interested in playing for us. I know he's dropped down the pecking order at Werder Bremen. Maybe that's got something to do with it. And I guess we were an obvious fit for each other. He wanted to come back and live in London, and it was an obvious one. But that's just a little bit weird for me, Ben. I don't know what you think in terms of whether we went for him in the summer or not.
I'd be almost certain that we did. And again, I'm just on Salary Sport here, so I don't know if this is a reliable source of weekly wage, but it says he's on 16 grand a week there. I'd imagine for us that's pretty hefty, and we probably wouldn't have been offering him that, considering injury concerns, wasn't really playing at Sheffield United. Would we have then offered him a 3-year deal? So when you look at it like that, Werder Bremen was probably an attractive offer for him. In terms of us not having a permanent or option to buy clause, he's clearly a stopgap, right? We need bodies in, as we said, and he ticks a number of the sort of low risk boxes in terms of he knows the group, etc., as we just said. So I'm not too concerned that we don't have that option to buy. If he tears it up, then it's just going to be one of those things. And I've seen online before we jumped on here that apparently the manager for the Werder Bremen manager, I'll get my words out, sees his future in Germany. So it clearly is just a case of he wants minutes and wants to play. So coupled with the fact he's got a 3-year deal, he's clearly going back, and it just seems like it's a stopgap for us to get bodies in the door. Again, I don't mind it. We know he's a backup in terms of our transfer targets, but fairly low risk, as we keep saying. And as we've already said, it improves the group.
Only 2 goals in 14 games in his spell with us, obviously, in January onwards last year. I mean, I am for the signing overall, and I think it is a good addition to the front line in the wide areas, especially. It means George Honeyman doesn't have to play out wide right, Ben. I know, obviously, we've debated that on a show or two previous. Um, I do think if there was a chance to get a clause in there, I mean, I agree with what you're saying there. Is this? He's 25 now. I just feel like I could see a world where if he does hit the ground running, it's like it's a win-win for Werder Bremen. Whereas I suppose it's a win-win for us too if he gets us into the playoff positions, and if we get promoted to the Premier League, then you might be able to afford him, I suppose, Chris. But I just wonder whether or not if there is something there. There might be. We don't know. It's not been reported. But if you're Millwall and you're thinking 25 years old, he's come back again, so obviously Rowett likes him. There must, I'm sure there must be a desire from Mill maybe to. We were saying this maybe third or fourth choice option in the transfer window, but he does. I think he does add that missing ingredient, and I did feel like we missed it at the start of the season, in particular when the season got underway. And it was something I said on the show. Like I'm just hoping that he can come in and be that injection of pace and a bit of something different to that for front wide area.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd be surprised if the club, unless, as you say, he comes in absolutely smashes it, would be prepared to pay a fee for a player that they could have got for free in the summer. Is another way of looking at it. But obviously, situations change. But yeah, I think he you know what you get with Burke, don't you? Let's be honest. We all know his flaws. We all know his good bits, and he's someone that can stretch defenses, terrorise defenses. His first touch is poor. We know that, but getting him in behind, a different option to the likes of Vogie and Honeyman, who, for various reasons have potentially flattered to deceive there. It gives us another option. And I think, as we say, overall, it improves the group. And that's all we can really ask for. Rowett, very, documented, said that, you look at all the other benches in the Championship in that top half of the league, and they've got all sorts of options that can come on. We don't have anyone without an out pace on the bench other than when Bury's fit, really. So this does give us that option. So, yeah, overall, not the marquee signing we'd hope, but I think when you actually evaluate it and things settle down in your mind, I don't think it's the worst bit of business.
It's funny how quick things change in football, because I remember at the start of the season thinking, we've got a squad here. We've got a squad of players. You got Honeyman in there who can offer something different. He signed a number 10 Fleming who had something different to the dynamic. Got Phobie and Bradshaw up front. You got, the likes of Tyler Bury out wide, and you can change the game if he comes on. But then that quickly changes as the season transitions, because I remember us all being on the show, Chris, and saying, like, cool, look at this squad now. And then all of a sudden, in the space of 3 weeks, we let go of a lot of the young players. A Phobie goes. And it's like, oh, we've got nothing now. And it's like, hopefully, we get this over. We get one more over the line. We'll talk about in a second in Duncan Watmore. But it's nice to see. I suppose we've clearly identified what we wanted, because we are linked with Watmore. His rooms have a medical today. But it's funny how quickly that can change in football. And suddenly, Malone's not really trusted anymore in the left back position. It's like it's quick how that can quickly, opinions can change in football, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we're in a good position in the table, right? I think if we win our game or two in hand, we could go up to third, right? And we'll get onto Watmore in a moment, but Middlesbrough fans, in a way, are not happy with Watmore going and potentially to a rival, right? I'm sure they've got someone lined up to replace him, but we're in a good position with those two signings. Hopefully, Watmore confirmed tomorrow. There's just that kind of one more. We need one more, don't we? I think we all know that. And it just shows you that we can debate whether Burke was part of the plan or not. But if the plan was to bring in Watmore, who's a pacey, wide, creative player, and then Nisbet, I think everyone would have looked at that, really positively and said that was a real statement of intent from the club. Obviously, Nisbet hasn't worked out, so we'll just have to see what tomorrow brings. But Ben, do you agree that we still need that one more player, even if Watmore does come in?
100%. And I think Rich Cowley tweeted earlier saying that this had been in the pipeline for the last 10 days. Borough were just looking or working on the replacement for Watmore. So clearly it was the plan to bring in Nisbet and Watmore, which I think if we looked at that and said at the start of the window we'd have got those two in, I think we'd all been pretty happy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, again, let's go back to the Burke piece very quickly. If we look at the players that have been playing out wide in Vogie, Honeyman, Bury, as we said, would I prefer Burke against any of those out in a wide right position? I'd almost say yes to all of them. Vogie, we've engineered his position to be wide right. Honeyman doesn't. He's just not a wide player. And we said it on that show before. He's just not a wide player. Stop playing him there, please. And Rowett clearly doesn't fancy Bury, right, for whatever reason. Otherwise, he'd have got more minutes out on that wide right. So when you look at it like that, it's filled a gap. Do we need one more? Yes, I'd love to see one more come in. I'd love to see us go and spend $1 million or a couple mil if we've still got some budget there to go and do it, which we clearly have if it was Nisbet plus Watmore. Again, who are we going to get in now, last day of the transfer window? It's probably going to be another Burke sort of player that's not getting many minutes where he is, and an injury's kept him out the side, or someone like that. So, yeah, I'd love us to go and nick someone, but it's going to be tight, isn't it?
Yeah, I do agree with you there, mate. I think, obviously, we referred to it. 11 o'clock this morning, Richard Cowley says about Burke's medical and one more to come. It broke, rumoured, and then kind of got confirmed later today. Duncan Watmore is the second player. Obviously, at Middlesbrough for 2.5 seasons now. I think Warnock brought him in initially, and he's had a good return there. I think it's quite a weird reaction that I see in various groups I'm in and stuff like that. Oh, he's only a bit part player, can only play 60, 75 minutes. Played 41 games last season. He's played 16 so far this season. The year before that, he played 30. Scored 9 in the first one, 7 in the second, and 5 in the third. 21 goals in 87 games. I mean, it's a different kind of proposition, and a player that's not really. He was at Sunderland for I think 10 years. It felt like a long while back, Chris. But I think Watmore adds that addition of like Burke in a sense, direct, hard working. I've always been impressed with him when he's played against us. To be fair, even when he came as a sub against us at the Riverside earlier this month, like. I'm really impressed by that signing if we get it over the line. And it's not happened yet, so we've learnt with Nisbet not to say much, but it feels like this could be like a good transition and, two different wide players there that can both feature and be in the side straight away, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Watmore's probably, if he does sign, probably more someone that you would maybe throw straight into the mix. He's featured a lot more heavily recently for Borough than obviously Burke has been playing in the Bundesliga. And I agree. I think I've always been really impressed with him. He's for me, he's a Millwall type player. He works very, very hard. He's quite aggressive in the way he plays. He's direct. He's quite exciting to watch, which I think Millwall fans will see that. He's a ball carrier. He likes to take people on. And for someone that doesn't play as an out-and-out striker, I think his goal return's pretty good, to your point. It averages around 1 in 4 over the 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
He probably knows some of the group. I would imagine he knows Honeyman. I don't know if Saville and him crossed paths when they were there. So he probably know a few of the groups, so that will play a part.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is going to sign, I do believe it could well be on a permanent, which would be, a good bit of business for us to have him sort of a more of a longer term signing. I think he's 28 years old. So, I think it's a really good signing. And yes, okay, he's got history of knee injury. I feel like we love a player that's got a bit of an ACL problem. But, between him and Mason Bennett, we've got we've probably got 2 players that make one good one. But no, I think overall we should be really pleased with that signing.
I do like this signing. I really do. I think, 28, you're right. He's 29 in the 8th of March, so soon to be 29. Still got probably, 2 or 3, 4 good seasons at him, maybe more. Who knows what happens with his injuries. But I do like his background as well, Ben. He was at Man United as a youth player, then was at Altrincham, played, in the lower leagues, got picked up by Sunderland, ended up playing in the Premier League. But I think he's had that kind of grounding. You can see that in him, the type of player he is, I feel like. He's dogged, hard-working, and he has that bit of quality too, mate. And I think he'll fit in well at the Den if he, touchwood, stays fit and gets signed over.
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? We love signing players. You just said, Chris, someone that just might be a little bit lightweight or susceptible to an injury. But again, that's probably the pond that we're fishing in at the minute. He's one of those players that I've always seen, whether it be with Sunderland or Borough. I watched him come on against Sunderland for Borough a couple of weeks ago. Just got involved straight away. Looked like he had a bit of quality on the ball. As you said, he's got Premier League experience. I know 5-6 years ago, but yeah, he's always a player that I've seen and just thought decent player. So yeah, really happy with that. He's going to add a bit of quality. As you said there, Chris, he might know a few of the lads as well. So hopefully settles in pretty quick. From what's been rumoured on Twitter, it seems like it's a relatively low fee as well. So I don't think there's many negatives apart from his, I don't even want to keep saying it because I don't want to jinx it, but his possible injury problems. But yeah, again, proper just championship level player. Again, someone that we've been crying out for, I think. So yeah, really happy with him.
I really like, because his story as well, how he signed for Middlesbrough. I do remember Warnock talking about it last year, and I've just dug the article up. But I know Warnock loved him. Like, Warnock was like, when he's at Borough, like, I think he got released from Sunderland in the summer, didn't sign for Sunderland till Middlesbrough till 3-4 months into the season, and kind of turned up and trained. And, you know, he said he's a fabulous lad, one of the best lads I've ever had under me. He was so keen to do well. So I said to him, listen, instead of going to India, let me see if I could get you a contract here, because I think he was going to go over to India to play football. And, you know, you can tell he's that kind of character, like we're saying here, Chris. You know, he's obviously a hard-working player. And if Neil Warnock's giving him a good reference like that, you know, Warnock's that kind of manager that you'd always thought is associated with what we're about as fans and as a club. Like, I do think if Millwall's identified and, you know, Aldo's come in and we're looking for a new identity to Millwall, this feels like a unanimous thing of, you know, this is a player that, you know, he can fit in at the club straight away. And with that in mind, hopefully go from leaps to bounds straight away for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that seems to be, and I really like this, by the way, it seems to be part of our sort of recruitment criteria is character.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do like that. And you know, if you even look at Zian,
Yeah.
you know, Zian doesn't. He seems to have that kind of character. I think there's a few interviews this week about kind of the pressure of being in the top six, and he seems to get it. You know, away games, the way he comes over to the fans and stuff like that. I think he seems to get it, and that's really important. I think to play for a club like us, you have to have that mentality, that work hard, workmanship like mentality, and from the glowing references Watmore's had from Warnock, but also just seeing some of the Middlesbrough fans on Twitter, it shows to me that he's definitely that kind of character. So I think it's a really good signing. It's nice to not always sign the same players. You know, we went for a period, didn't we, under Rowett, where we signed his mates from Derby or Birmingham or wherever. It's really nice. And this one came out of nowhere again, didn't it? Really, I don't think anyone of us. I mean, on the show on Saturday, we were talking about potential signings, and no one mentioned him. I didn't even think he'd be available, to be honest. So, you know, touch wood, it gets over the line, and it's a good bit of business. One thing I'd ask. Where do you think, from what you've seen, is his strongest position?
This is what I was about to actually come on to, because I was going to say, obviously, Watmore, Burke. It feels like we've firmly moved away from what Rowett had an idea of in the summer. We had no wingers at the club. We had Bury, and that was it. Now we've signed 2 wingers. I guess I'll come to you on Ben, and you can answer Chris's question there. What's going to change, or are these players both going to fit into what we're already playing with, a 4-2-3-1? We've got a clear number 10 in there. We've got wide players now. It feels like this is the formation we're going with, and we're sticking with it, I feel like.
Just going back to Chris's previous point, I think you always tell when you sign a player on Twitter the fans' reaction, and I haven't seen a negative one from any Borough fans. So it just tells you the sort of regard that he's held in. As we just mentioned, there's literally been no negative comments about him at all. So yeah, I think that's always a telltale sign. In terms of position, yeah, that's my only concern with him. He seems to can play anywhere across that front 3, right? Down the middle, left or right. Is it just a case that we've got him because he can do that and he can fit in any of those positions? Does it give it a bit of depth behind Bradders or in front of Bradders? I can't imagine he would have come to us if he's not a guaranteed starter as well. So I'd imagine Rowett's probably thinking it's going to be one of those positions. Yeah, that was what I was actually going to say about that, but that is my only thing. I don't know where his best position is. It seems like he's played a lot down the middle, so yeah, maybe he's just come in to be ahead of Bradders, and we're going to use Bradders off the bench. But yeah, it seems as I keep saying, he can play in any of those 3, which isn't a bad thing.
I think he's kind of one of those players that just likes to get the ball and run with it, and I think that'll be perfect. You know, in the Championship, especially for us, I feel like we've got Fleming that can carry the ball and drive yards, but he ain't got the pace to back it up as well. Sometimes I feel like, but he's not slow Fleming, but he's not rapid at the same time, I suppose, in that kind of assessment of that. But like, I think Watmore will be the kind of player that will get the ball like Burke and just carry us up the pitch, and I think that will help, especially away from home, Chris. I feel on the counter attack, teams are not going to like playing against us. I feel like, especially if you've got Burke, Watmore, Fleming kind of find the service, and even Bradders up front, for example, making a nuisance of himself. I feel like there's going to be that kind of fear factor about us, especially away from home, where teams might want to pay us more respect, I feel like.
Absolutely, mate. And I think it gives us a different dimension of playing, doesn't it? Because the way in which, if you're playing with Bradshaw, Vogie, Fleming, as three out of your front four, they haven't got half a yard of pace between them. So they're it's you've almost got to break teams down by playing good football or score from set pieces in order to progress up the pitch. Whereas if you've got ball carriers, and let's be honest, we haven't had a ball carrier since Jed, and Burke last season, of course. And it just gives you another way of playing. And as you said, away from home on the counter, it means potentially we can stretch teams a little bit more, leave someone up top a little bit more. So it just gives us a few different options. And I think Watmore can also play as a 10, sort of in Fleming's position. So, maybe another potential is that Fleming goes up top. He looked all right against Cardiff and obviously showed that strength. And I've always likened his attributes to Gyökeres. I'm not saying he's at that level, but in terms of Gyökeres isn't the quickest, but he can use both feet, hold the ball up, he's strong, good at playing his back to goal, intelligent. So who knows? It just gives you a few different options, doesn't it? And I think that's really important, particularly as we come into a period like February where we've got Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on there. I mean, do they both go into the team? What do you expect? If Watmore signs tomorrow, what do you think? Is he gonna? I mean, it's an interesting one to have. I mean, what was the team against Cardiff? You had Honeyman and was it who was on the left? I can't remember for the life of me now.
Oh,
Fergie didn't start.
no, he didn't start. Sorry, it's
Start-
Bennett. Bennett started.
Oh, Bennett started. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and Starr's left
Yeah,
back. Yeah, but I do both play. I don't know. You could see that. Maybe one or the other, but it could be a world where you see both of them just go straight into the side potentially.
I'd be almost guaranteed Watmore will start. He's played a lot more minutes. He's been playing an hour, 70 minutes. So I think, I'd be almost certain Watmore's going to start. Don't think Burke will.
Chris, great.
Watmore playing against Sunderland as well, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Club. Watmore and Honeyman on the. I use the term loosely on the wings for Honeyman, but playing down the wide positions, you've got two former Sunderland lads in there. Who knows? If I had to take a punt, I'd say both would be on the bench. Actually, I would like to see Watmore start. I genuinely would. I just don't think. I think we'll give Bennett and Watmore half each.
I like it. So yeah, I mean that's it. 2 new signings for us. Well, it's 1.5, if I suppose. We've obviously addressed about the fact that we're missing, or we feel like we want one more. I do feel like there's a world where we get one more in. I can see a little merry-go-round happening, and you mentioned obviously Ben about spending some money, but you saw, I don't know if you saw the article about saying we won't go in hastily and spend 2 million on a player, or we'll kind of pick and choose our moments and wait for it. And the Burke signing, like we said at the start, feels like a fallback option, to kind of play it safe, get something that can come in and do the business for us. But who or what do you envisage happening tomorrow? I mean, it's $1 million question, I know, and I'm not expected to give me a categoric answer, but I feel like we're going to get one in. I don't know. I feel like it's going to happen.
I think if we do, I would be really happy with the business that we've done, even though we've already said certainly Burke wasn't a top 3-5 target of ours. I'd be really happy if we get someone else in. I really hope we can. Again, I said it a couple of times now. I'm assuming, though, if we do, it's only going to be someone that isn't getting game time somewhere else or is, just struggling to get into a squad. I don't think it's going to be a Premiership loan or someone like that. And again, look, if we don't spend a great deal of money, again, I think that's fine. We haven't rushed into things before. We don't need to now. Just because we all know we've got money to spend on these sorts of players doesn't mean we need to do it. Would I like us to spend that money and give us the best chance to get into the top 6 come end of the season? Absolutely. But again, I wouldn't want to be pushed down a route of signing a £2.5 million player in Nesbitt and he does his knee because we haven't done it properly or we've rushed. So, I'm not caught up on us spending it, but it'd be great to get someone else in. We went through this on Saturday. Who? I don't know. I'm hoping, again, we've got another Watmore lined up where it's been all under the radar and very quiet. And just on that, I'm assuming we've been quiet because he might have been quite sought after had clubs known he was available.
Yeah.
So if there are other irons in the fire, then potentially. But I'd love to bring us one more in.
Did either of you see the tweet about 6 o'clock from Roy the Alien? Millwall have joined the race to sign Sam Nombe from Exeter. Apparently we've been quiet. Exeter's reluctant to sell and will do business for the right price. Bristol City have also been in for the young forward. I think he's got 11 goals in League Two this year. Bit left field, bit out of the blue, but a player that's getting interested.
He's been mentioned a few times in this window, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Certainly hearsay on Twitter. I've seen his name pop up, and again, we mentioned him on Saturday on the show. Don't know much about him, but we seem to have been linked with him, and other Championship clubs have. So again, someone like that is young, scoring goals in a lower league. Again, if we're going to make a punt or sign someone for some money, that's the sort of profile I think we should be going after.
Chris, I know Ogbene's your man, your star boy.
His poster boy.
Yeah, your star boy.
You know, at the end of the day, they've just let Barlaser go to Middlesbrough. So they need a central midfield general. George Evans is that central midfield general, and we need Ogbene. So it just makes sense to just do a swap. No fee, just swap the two.
You doing a sales pitch there, Chris?
Yeah, if you're listening, Matt Taylor,
the best centre midfielder in the league.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I do see. I can't see Evans. Surely Evans goes tomorrow.
I think so.
Surely. And then when you look at the financials, if we've signed Burke and we're paying his full wages, if they're believed to be 16k, then you're almost doing a like for like with a Phobie, right? In terms of wages going in, wages going out. Watmore would then be sort of an incremental one. And if we were prepared to do Watmore and Nisbet, then you could say that there is still some funds potentially for us. But I'm with Ben. I don't want us to waste money as much as I think if we went with just Watmore and Burke, it would be a missed opportunity. Genuinely, I do think that. I think we are now a proper centre forward away from being a real top six contender. I mean, we are anyway, but realistically. So I would like us to get one in. As much as I love Ogbene, I don't actually think he is the exact player we need. I'll take him in an instant. But we'll see. We need a mobile target man. But the problem is, so does after Championship. So it becomes a very difficult time on deadline day to get it. Nombe, possibly someone from a foreign league we've never heard of could pop up. Who knows? But the only thing that makes me think that ain't going to happen is because I don't know this. I don't have any sources, but I would imagine that I think Watmore is done, and they've deliberately not announced him so that they can announce him tomorrow as a deadline day signing. So, I don't know, Omar. What do you think? Do you agree that we need that mobile target man? And
yeah,
is there a world that we get one in?
I absolutely do think we do. I can see. I'm happy with the business. If this is the two, then it's two more than I thought we might have even got yesterday morning, to be honest with you. So I'm happy with the two if Watmore gets over the line, and I'm with you boys. I don't. If we're going to wait for the right target, Nisbet. I think we all think he failed his medical. No one knows for sure. That's hearsay. But, we're waiting for the right target. We're not willing to waste the money quite clearly. And we want to obviously choose the right person to come in. So I'm all for that. And, I do credit the recruitment team for Watmore and Burke, to be honest. I do think, a pair of them are good signings. And like I said, Watmore buys into what we're about, I feel like. So, yeah, I mean, do we get one in? I can see a world where Guy Corres is constantly linked with Everton, and I feel like Sean Dyche is going to want to go for him. And I could just see a little merry-go-round happening in the Championship tomorrow. I feel like there's going to be a bit of craziness happening, and you're going to end up with, didn't we sign Leonard and Tom Bradshaw on deadline day once? I can see us trying to sign someone out of the blue. There's going to be some movement somewhere, and then I think we'll benefit from it. I do think we're waiting. I think we're in the wing for one quite clearly. I think it's different if you've got a couple players there and, you're happy with what you got. I think we're quite clearly not happy with what we got because Rowett said it on numerous occasions in the window. We want a forward. We're looking for a forward. And now we'll wait for the right forward. I can see a world where a door opens tomorrow and I think we'll pounce for one. I really do think that. And, if the opportunity presents itself, I think Millwall will go and spend the money on it as well. They'll know their targets. And if there's one that pops up, I think we'll go for it.
I agree, mate. And I think the other thing as well is there's potentially a lot of money coming into the Championship tomorrow, which might fund that merry-go-round. So Harry Suter has been a 15 million bid from Leicester. So that's a Stoke centre-half. That then could start the ball rolling with Stoke splashing some cash somewhere. You've got the Gyökeres piece that we just talked about. You've got Swansea just received some money for Obafemi from Burnley. There's quite a few players that are starting to rumoured to still be going, and that sometimes just creates this snowball effect where things start to spike into action.
I also
wherever I was going to say wherever Ogbene goes, maybe that means that Rotherham have got money for Evans potentially, which therefore means we have money for that. So there's all sorts. I think we'll be waiting for that dreaded tweet from Richard Cowley saying after Watmore, Millwall don't the rest of the day.
Yeah.
We'll wait for that tomorrow and then our hopes will be shattered.
I think we're happy with it though, but like I said, I think the difference this time is also like if you're like a player that could be interested in going to Millwall, you see you sign Watmore, Burke, and you see Millwall's in a good position. And if we do go for that and kind of go for a £2 million striker, I do think we're in a position to kind of go, look, we're having a go here, and I think that will look appealing to potential signers too. And like I said, it just feels different this window where you're getting these two over the line, and we're clearly lurking for one. We've always been lurking for a striker. Every club does, but I feel like it's different this time around. I really do. I mean, yeah, I've asked you already, Ben, but I guess what do you reckon to that? I can just see a world where there's going to be a little merry-go-round tomorrow, and something might happen, mate.
There's always a bit of craziness on the last day. There's going to be some panic buying. There's going to be some panic selling. As we said, that one big name going over Gyökeres from Kovel, whoever, it's just going to then, it's going to kickstart hopefully, and it might just fall into place that a target of ours then becomes available. I know we spoke about him earlier, Chris, we spoke about him Saturday, but I'd love us to go after an Ashley Barnes or someone, add a real bit of quality championship mouse in there, just a real tough centre forward who can lead that line. We said it before, but wages for him is going to be impossible. But someone like that, if Burnley go and sign some more attacking players, which they could well do. I think you said again, Chris, Saturday they were linked with, they've just signed the new centre forward. So, it's going to kickstart. I was actually just looking at Rich Cowley's thread there of us being in for Watmore and see if someone has asked if we're in for anyone else. No one seems to have done that, which is weird. So
get tweeting then. Hurry up.
I better ask. That's the concern though, right? We get that over the line and that tweet comes out, Mill done for the day. But look, I think we all are hopeful that we do get one more in. Be interested though, do we think if Watmore isn't seen as a centre forward and he's going to play left wing or right wing, we still need that centre forward, or do we think we've gone for Watmore to be that centre forward? It'd be interesting to see how that plays out if we do get someone in.
Chris's take on Fleming being up front could also be an option as well, which I hadn't really thought of, but there could be something there to that as well. Obviously we mentioned Evans surely is going to get shown the door, but in this whole merry-go-round, can we see anyone else potentially leave the club tomorrow? Is there anyone that you think maybe, I don't know, Ben, I'll come back to you on that one. Anyone that you think, a bit out of the blue, they might go or disappear? Maybe a Scott Malone, for example, or someone like that. Someone that's just kind of been lurking in the background. I don't know.
Do you know what I was going to say?
What about Creswell too? Creswell's been constantly rumoured to be recalled and it's gone quiet. It could be big.
Again, I've different conflicting probably stories on the Creswell piece. I've heard that they've missed the deadline to get him back Leeds. I've heard that they haven't. There's still rumours that he's going back. I'd be amazed if they take him last day of the window and don't at least give us an opportunity to replace him from either side. I just don't. I know they hate us and we hate them, but I can't imagine they'd do that. Just on the Cooper piece, I know there was rumours about him going Rangers earlier. I saw that's been kiboshed by Michael Beale, which is good, or certainly for now. So he's not going to be leaving. But potentially someone like a Malone hasn't had much game time coming back from injury. Might want to get some minutes under his belt for the rest of the year. Styles seems to be, I don't know if he's been forced to be next best, but I don't mind Styles playing at left back, to be honest. Gives us a bit of attacking force at a wing back. Outgoings. I mean, we've mentioned George Evans, but is there anyone else we can afford to let go? Because we're thin on the ground. So unless it's in a ridiculous bid for a Fleming, for example, which isn't going to happen, then I can't see us being able to let anyone else go, to be honest.
What about Tyler Bury, maybe? I don't know, maybe he gets a loan for the rest of the season. He's
just a weird one, isn't he, Bury? Rowett just clearly doesn't fancy him, does he? Because he's had opportunities to play him, and we've been saying all year that we're crying out for a wide player, but he just doesn't seem to either get a run of games, or when he gets his chance, he doesn't seem to have shown the flashes that he has done over the last sort of 12 months. But Rowett clearly doesn't think he's ready to step up and be that main man for us out on that right-hand side. You would have thought with Jed going, natural kind of progression for him just to go in that spot as a youngster. But as I say, it doesn't seem like Rowett fancies him or believes that he can be that man for us out there. So, Would I be against letting him go? I'm probably in a camp of I don't really care if he stays or goes, to be honest. That's my opinion on Burke. It's a bit harsh, but he's a bit meh for me.
Anything to add on that, Chris?
I think it'd be a really interesting competition for who dresses worse between him and Burke. So I think that would be. I'd like to see him stay for that. No,
I reckon you could throw your hat into the name for that. No, Chris, no. Or no? Mickey would say it, so I felt like I had to say it for him there.
Oh god!
Only messing, mate.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, me and Berkey have definitely got a few mashing items. I'll leave it at that. Cue the abuse. No, so I think I would like to see. I think if we sign another forward, I would like to see Bury go on loan because I think he needs a run of games. Because the reason I don't think he gets the run of games is because he can't be trusted to do defensive work. Going forward, there's no doubt that he's got something. And I know there was a little bit of to and fro with the fans, which I think just him not being here for a while wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. So I see that potentially something. I think Evans is the obvious one. I'd keep Malone, to be honest. I think that he offers something a little bit different. I think he is still incredibly athletic considering his age, and he's quite good dead ball deliveries. So I would keep him personally. The only other one for me, which who I would also keep, but I would imagine might be thinking, what's going on here, Shackleton. He come here, and I think he kind of half expected to be one of the sort of starting midfielders, and it just hasn't played out that way. I don't think he's been bad. I don't think he's been great. I think it's just been that Billy Mitchell and George Saville have kept him out of the team, and rightly so. So, that's the only other one that who knows what's going on. Cresswell, for me, will only go back if there is a big offer on the table for him to leave Leeds permanently. So there was rumours about Coventry offering $4 million for him, which therefore, if you're Leeds and you don't see Cresswell's future long term at the club, paying Millwall $200,000 or whatever it is to bring him back is worth the $4 million you'll get. So that's the only other one. Other than that, I think we'll go with what we've got and buzzing for Saturday now. Whatever comes, really. It's been a long time coming, isn't it?
It feels like it has been a long time coming, hasn't it? It's like Cardiff does feel like a little time ago, and obviously, deadline day, the madness of it. I'm actually looking forward to a deadline day for the first time in a little while, to be fair, as a Mill fan. I don't know. It's not often we look forward to them, I feel like. And, there's that time when obviously George Saville left. I do feel like there's a spanner in the works tomorrow. I really do. We'll have to see. Would you be tuning in tomorrow to watch deadline day, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in previous years, as you just said, transfer deadline day, also known as Tuesday for Millwall fans. But yeah, tomorrow could be quite exciting, right? I'm really hopeful that the fact that we've kept Watmore under wraps and it's been quiet, but we've said we've been targeting for the last 10 days, we've got something else lined up. Maybe I'm just too hopeful now, and all the pessimistic side of me has been wiped out with two relatively decent signings. But yeah, hopefully that we've kept that quiet. We're generally not a club that likes to shout about things, are we? So I'm hoping there's someone else lined up.
Definitely. Well, Ben, thanks for coming on today, mate. And fingers crossed. I mean, tomorrow we maybe get that one person in, right?
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'll be refreshing Twitter like a madman.
Chris, any last words, mate, before we wrap up here, pal?
No, mate. Thanks for having us on. Good to talk, and yeah, it's almost nice to look forward to a deadline day for once, where you don't know what's around the corner.
We're saying all this now, and then when Billy Mitchell goes for £5 million tomorrow to Coventry or someone because they sell Guy Corrett's, we'll be like, "What the fuck's happened here?" Cheers to both of you. I appreciate you both coming on. I quite enjoyed that. It was quite good. If you're new around here, be sure to subscribe, listen, and obviously tune in on all sorts of socials. We're all on over them. Mickey's planning to do a Twitter space this evening if you're listening on Tuesday morning. Maybe there's some rumours, maybe there's some transfers that come to materialise for us. But yeah, thanks to both guys for joining me, and we'll be back tomorrow. Cheers, guys. See you later.